after Charlie Parker, there's the Ornette Coleman. Then the next big figure will be a John Coltrane. Coltrane obviously grew up as a bopper. I have records of him playing in the saxophone section of Dizzy Gillespie, and you're a bopper. One of the famous records that John Coltrane makes with Miles Davis, at I think Newport Jazz Festival, 1955, Train is still basically a bopper. But you can see in many ways it's like Ornette Coleman. He's pulling the curtain back. You see, he finally gets to a point where, as he gets to be really good at that, he moves over into what he's been planning all along. And we don't know how long. But he didn't just jump up one day and say, I think I'll do something different. He recorded all blues with Miles Davis and did giant steps all within 6 months of each other. He said, wait a minute now. The guy that's playing giant steps, is that the same saxophone player that's on? Yes. And then you look up and he's playing my favorite things. And he's pulling the curtain back and becoming more and more aware of something beyond just the black man in America, man on the planet Earth. Spirituality. This is bigger than just the American Negro in America. This is about human beings. So now you go back and say, hey man, this jazz music has said all the time, it's a black man looking at himself. James Baldwin said at one point, after the Civil War, during Reconstruction and all, we're trying to get the nation back on its feet. And somebody said, well, what do white people think of this freed man now? James Baldwin said, more important, what does this black man think of himself? Who are you? Now you went through 250 some odd years of slavery, now you're free. So it's like I said at the very end of the thing the other day in the class after William Roper said, Lincoln freed the slaves. Do you remember that? I said he
released them. Yeah.
But they'd have to free
themselves.
And thought about that. In the process, he is freeing himself with the music. Charlie Parker is freeing himself. So is Ornette Coleman. Coltrane is saying, throwing away the shackles, not only the ones from slavery, but the shackles that face us as humans on the planet. I'm dealing with war, racism, and hatred all over the world, you know. You have to decide you want to be a success. You want to be rich and famous. And if possible. But I'm not going to pay a price that takes what I like about the music away from me. It's like Ornette Coleman, I remember very clearly. When we were in New York and I was working with him there, he was prepared any day that he had to get a job. Can you imagine Ornette Coleman in New York working on some job? And who he was? He said, but if I have to, I will. You know? He said, because I'm gonna do what I'm doing. And he was getting a lot of heat in New York, I can't tell you. People would come in the dressing room who were on breaks and say, why do you guys come in here and play stuff like that? And one famous black singer said, I know you guys are angry, but don't take it out on the music. He meant that we were trying to punish people what we're playing. We said, that's not what we're doing. We're not just up there entertaining you now. And we're willing to do whatever it takes to keep doing what we're doing, you see. And I don't want to get to a point where we become so affluent. I'm in the grips of where I live. All of a sudden I got the big Mercedes and somebody said, well, if you don't keep doing this, you won't be able to keep the Mercedes. And I was just, well, take it. And that doesn't mean I'm trying to be some kind of hero. I'm just saying now I realize that I have a certain power with the horn. You listen now. That's what I want you to do. I'm here in New York because I want to be heard. Because I think I have something to say. And I've gotten the skill now to be able to get up there. If you're willing to meet me halfway, you'll leave here thinking about what we've done. Which means then now that without any ego involved, I can play something compelling up here now that's totally my own. It doesn't disregard now what I learned from Louis Armstrong and Miles Davis and Charlie Parker and from Ornette Coleman and from Train too. But I realize now that I have kind of a responsibility now, because when I get up to the plate, you're expecting me to continue to try to disturb you. There's no going back, you see. So that thing with Jackie Robinson, that's the first commission that I ever had, formal commission, you see. And so I said to this guy that asked me to do that, he said, I want you to write this piece honoring Jackie Robinson's the centennial of his birth, was 2019. And I said to him, now, I'm not going to write something like Take Me Out to the Ball Game, because this guy knew my music. Terry Cannon, who's a writer and librarian here in Pasadena, lover of baseball and jazz. He said, I want you to do it through what you do. And I said, let me get to work on it. Now, it doesn't mean that when I'm doing something now to get up there now trying to take us on some sort of bizarre trip. I said, I'm going to write the music now and relate to how I feel about what this guy felt. And what, and some of it will be accessible right away, and some of it won't. You'll have to listen again and see, well, how does that relate to this Jackie Robinson in your own mind? Started with that Lieutenant Jackie because of that frightful experience he had in the Army, you see. Then another piece is like calling you up from the minors, and you think, well, that's not boppish. That's what I thought about. They're saying to him, okay, Jackie, come on up. And you don't have quite the idea of what you're going to meet up here, but you've already taken a hit there in the Army. It's not like it's going to be new to you. And nobody can tell you what you're going to face coming up here. You're going to see. You haven't even begun to see what people are going to throw at you. He had some periods of doubt, where he wanted to quit. And he talked with friends, his wife and some couple of black sports writers and all. And he said, I decided I'm going to hang, do what I have to do here. I expected for some of them to be something that you could kind of relate to. And when I played, I didn't feel like I was obliged to play. It's not the whole story. Where a lot of people who think when you play new music that it has to be all really abrasive.
Right.
There's a place for that. It's like with Train. And I often played Interstellar Space.
Yeah.
There's places in there where you can say, well, yeah, I can relate to that, and other places he said, but that's the idea. He wasn't thinking about you in a way. And I said there are lots of drummers during that period who were great drummers, but they weren't ready for what he did on that record. He had to look around and find somebody that he could just pick up the tenor and start to play. And the guy could say, well, I can relate to that, man. But you see, that's the same thing is true. It's like when Charlie Parker gets to New York, there's no bop drummer. You see? There are guys who are looking around for something new to do, but when they heard Charlie Parker play, Charlie Parker said, I can't tell you what to play, but I can just tell you this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I can tell you when you play something that goes with what I'm doing, and when you play something that's not. He said, I can tell you what it's not. He said, but when you can relate to what I'm playing, I said, that's what I'm playing here. And so there was no name for it. You're trying to figure out a way to, if the word, play with Charlie Parker in the sonic thing that he's created, you see. He can't tell a bass player what to do, or the piece, especially the drummer. But when you do it, he's like, that's it. That would beat Kenny Clark, wouldn't it? And Max Rowe. And the other swing drummers were saying, what is this? It's like the guy that threw the cymbal at him, you see. He didn't quite get it. No disrespect to him, you see, but he was saying, I don't get that you're playing there. The pioneers, then you get the settlers. The pioneers break the ground. Then you have a lot of really talented people who come in and take it up. But you've already said, I pulled it back and this is what it is. It's like sometimes I say Charlie Parker is saying, I'm standing here and I can see over the fence. Tell us what you see. This is what I see. And they said, okay, what else do you see? And I see this. And then they get to a point, you see, where they can see what Charlie Parker's done. And he said, now we're at another fence. And Coleman says, well, here's another one. And we keep going. And in a way we still are, except that it's a little harder to see. Like Frank Zappa said, jazz is dead. I love Zappa's music. I said, but he's not in a position to say jazz is dead, because he doesn't play jazz. You can't ask Frank Zappa what is jazz. He can say he likes it or doesn't like it. He can't say it's dead. She actually did at one point. Maybe what he called jazz was dead. But it's not dead. It's no more dead than the black man is dead. When people ask, William and I work together, people say, well, is this jazz? I said, yes, it still is. I said, it may not be the sense that you mean. I said, but everything I play is jazz.